All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? So, I'm right back at it again, like always. What I've learned from reading this book, today's book, is The Cosmic Code by Zecharia Sitchin. This is his sixth book of the Earth Chronicles. And I got to say, in this book right here, this is basically, how can I say, it's just a reiteration of stuff that he said in the past and information that he has given in the past. It's not necessarily something new or, something that you can take and say that, I learned this from this book and not have read his other books. So basically, if you read every book up until the sixth one, you basically have a basic understanding with Zecharia Sitchin. The reason why I do these series is because I've learned that the podcasting community, or at least the historian or history or historic or whatever you want to call it, community, is saturated with people who want to be famous. A lot of people will get people on their podcast just so they can have a name for their podcast. I've noticed people get all these big people on there and don't even actually do their research behind that person's work. I've been in plenty of discussions with different people. I've been doing this for 5 years straight. I started with my website, rebirthoftheword.com. I started with Clubhouse, X, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And I noticed that everybody says the same exact thing. And I mean, I'm not even joking. They say the same exact thing. And they get a lot of these individuals that wrote books or, put peer-reviewed articles out there and stuff like that and never actually read their information. What really gets me is that they don't challenge some of these people's work, which means that they don't do their due diligence and say, hey, well, what about this or what about that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm that type of person that likes to challenge people because I like to be challenged. The reason why I like to be challenged is because when I'm wrong in something and I do my due diligence behind it and I research and find out that what I said may have been incorrect, it helps me learn. I actually learn from being wrong, which a lot of people can't admit. I will admit that really fast. I learn better when I am wrong. And the reason why is because I don't want to repeat the same stupid stuff that I said in the past. If you give me something that goes against what I said and what I've shared in the past, and it helps me on my journey on that, then I'm going to sit up there and say, okay, you know what? Hey, I was wrong. I was mistaken. I've done it plenty of times. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube. I created a Rumble account. I have my website. I do this stuff because I have a passion for history. I'm not like some of these other people out there just want to make a name for themselves. If I wanted to make a name for myself, I wouldn't call people idiots. Let's just put it like that. And I do that very frequently. And I do that so much so to the point that people block me on X. And I can't, and I'll tell you this, I won't block anybody. The only people I block is like bots and, all that other crazy stuff. But I won't block anybody. And the reason why is because even though I don't like you, you may have a piece of information that I might need. And because I don't like you, doesn't mean that I'm going to let my feelings get involved and take away from what I want to learn. I'm always going to learn from somebody. I've been in, Universal Unveiled group. I haven't talked to any of those individuals in a while. In the last 2 weeks, actually, since what happened with this big racism thing that happened with me, being invited to a next space where I was called the N-word and people threatened my life because the color of my skin. And I was in a group with occult rejects that people know about. And I told the head guy, Nick, saying, hey, this ain't right. And this, that, and the third. And he was like, I thought you was just trying to bring down the morale. You know what I'm saying? Me bringing down the morale, but the simple fact that you give somebody airtime for the fact that, they called me the N-word. Then I heard people say, and I know people who sent me pictures, of their family and stuff like that saying, hey, we're doing this and we're going to this historical site. And they have people with skin color like mine, but will go online and give this person airtime. Now, I'm not going to give anybody that's racist airtime. I will sit there and listen to somebody and, try to gather as much information as I can, but I'm not going to promote somebody's work like that. So I'm that type of person that if it comes down to it, I'm going to get information one way or another. You can block me all you want. You can do all the stuff that you want, but knowledge is power. And I'm guaranteed that I have more knowledge and power than most of these individuals. And I can say that with very much respect for other people that I know that do have respect for, that I have respect for when it comes to knowledge. But it's the simple fact that I won't let my feelings get involved with knowledge. A lot of people do that. And I would tell you that if you've been following me for a while, for a fact that I don't believe everything Zecharia Sitchin says. Matter of fact, what Zecharia Sitchin says in a lot of stuff, I go against, not as far as, historical events and what can be proven when you read an academia paper. But what I'm talking about is when he talks about planet Nibiru. Now, there is no planet Nibiru out there that we know of as far as the cuneiform tablets. There is no depiction of a planet Nibiru, and I know he likes to use cylinder seal VA 243, which a lot of people don't know about. And I can name these cylinders and I can name all these cuneiform tablets and all this other stuff because I actually read the books. I have decided that just recently, instead of doing on my X account a daily support for somebody that I've respected, even though I respect them, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's only 5 people that I respect in the game. And I'm telling you, you would know them by the way I show my my support for them through X in certain ways. And it's only because of the simple fact that I'm not going to sit up here and play any games with anybody. I'm not going to sit up here and try to make sure that anybody likes me because they like me. Nobody knows me. You see me over a computer, you don't know what I'm about, you don't know what I do, you don't know what I am capable of doing, you don't even know that how much I would support somebody. There's been a time when I supported people so much that it took away from my own doing. And I realized, over the time that, why support people when they don't support you? So I'll shout them out. If they don't support me back, knock them off the list. That takes it easier and keeps me going and with the flow and so on and so forth. So when it comes to Zecharia Sitchin, even though I would say that you can't believe and you shouldn't believe everything he says, I would tell you personally, go read his books. And I'll tell you why. Don't take what I say with certainty. I'm only telling you what I've learned through my journey and what my research is. That's why when you go to my X account, Rebirth of the Word, and it's actually Rebirth of the Word WO1, because it's not the whole Rebirth of the Word. You have to go to my website, rebirthoftheword.com, to see the actual social handle and stuff like that I have from Facebook, Instagram, and all this other stuff. I share exactly what comes out the books. Now, everybody that knows me, boom, these are the tabs that I have in every book. You don't have to believe what I say. You don't have to sit up here and take what I say as true and facts. I did the research. You know what I'm saying? I've read the books. I don't have to play around. Look at these tabs. These are a lot of tabs. And this are the tabs that I'm going to go over today. This is every single book that I have. I actually have on my website, rebirthoftheword.com, under the Knowledge is Power tab, all the books that I've read at least 3 times, excluding my encyclopedia books that I have right here to the left of me. And the reason why is because I'm always constantly picking up these books, and I'm, if anybody that owns encyclopedias, that they're in chronological order and alphabets and stuff like that. So you know what to do. I have science and future. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books from 1995 to I can't even read it here from here. I don't even have my glasses, which I should have my glasses because I'm about to read this book. But I have a whole bunch of encyclopedias. Matter of fact, I drove all the way an hour away from my home to pick up these books for free. I don't play around with what I know, and I'm only sharing what I've read personally and what I've done my due diligence and stuff like that. And that's why I get a lot of messages from people that say, "Hey, man, you got to stop promoting people. You got to stop jumping in people's, lives and helping them with stuff," because in a lot of cases they'll tell me while I'm live, "Hey, these people ain't listening to you, bro. You literally are telling these people what to look at and they're not listening to you." So I'm at the point where now, instead of supporting other people, because I think that everybody's saturated and they want to make a name for themselves and they want to make everybody happy and pleasant. History ain't got shit to do with pleasantly. It's a hard pill to swallow when it comes to the facts and to the interpretations and translations, which I'm actually learning the cuneiform tablets for myself, the cuneiform writing system for myself, and I'm learning ancient Hebrew for myself. And I'm sitting up here doing all this stuff. I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm doing this for my kids. I want my kids to know that when you have a passion for something, you do it and you don't care what anybody else thinks about it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm 42 years old. I am at the point where, hey, you know what? If you don't want my support, fine. Do what you got to do. But I'm telling you, when it comes down to it, thousands and thousands of years ago, thousands of years from now, just like Herodotus and Plato and Socrates and all these individuals that were sharing philosophical ideas, they didn't get the recognition that they had at their time, but they got the recognition now in 2025, and that's why a lot of people follow them. So I might not get the recognition for what I do right now, but in the future, you better believe when they doing stellar travel and all this stuff, Rebirth of the Word is always going to be known. always going to be known because there's always going to be facts and always going to be to it. I have so many different things that I share my stuff on Spotify. I've been top 100 on Good Pods. I'm a bestseller. You know what I'm saying? All this from what I shared. So when it comes to Zecharia Sitchin, I said, read his books, but also go to my series, YouTube, what I've learned from this book, or even ask me personally, hey, what does Zecharia Sitchin mean by this? And I'll give you this, that, and the third without any narrative that I'm trying to create, because I have no narrative. The narratives is already out there. There's about millions of them. That's why everybody wants to be a podcaster. I don't even consider myself a podcaster. I consider myself somebody that's a scholar and a minister. I'm actually a certified minister, by the way. So a lot of people don't know that, but I'm actually a certified minister. I can, if two people want to get married, I can marry them. You know what I'm saying? I can bless houses. You know what I'm saying? I can do exorcisms and stuff like that, because guess what? I've definitely read books on how to conduct exorcisms. A lot of people don't know that, but I'm on the verge of, I've been doing this so hardcore to the point that my brain, I don't use 10%. I use the whole noggin. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't agree with so many people. I don't care if I like you or not. I'm going to tell you that I don't agree with you. And I wish that sometimes some people would take the opportunity and say, hey, look, man, you know what? This dude is on his shit. But it's okay. I'm at the point where I'm just going to go ahead and do my thing. And that's why I created what I've learned from reading this book series on my on my YouTube channel. I have my own Rebel channel where I'm actually on boots on ground, going to different museums, bringing you the this, that's, and thirds about the museums, and doing my own thing. I'm the one man show over here, and that's what I want to do. So with Zecharia Sitchin in this book, you know what I'm saying? This book, like I said earlier, this book is not necessarily a book that you have to read. And the reason why I say that, because he repeats a lot of the stuff in the past in different ways and stuff like that. And I think the reason why he does that is because he wanted to carry on with his legacy. And I'm going to break down exactly what he said in here, and I'm going to tell you what I've done through my own due diligence and my own research and my own knowledge and everything that I've done. I read 6-8 hours a day. I don't even play. And I picked those numbers because of Godfrey Higgins. Godfrey Higgins wrote these books, Eclipses Volume 1 and Volume 2 in 1833. He wrote these books. These books aren't those small little books. These books would take you at least a couple of weeks to read. First of all, because there's so much information in there to the point where you just can't digest just one page. If you read one page, you're going to spend at least 20, 30, 45 minutes researching that one page. When I read a book, I don't read it just to read it. I comprehend it. I understand it. Then I do my due diligence behind it. What I mean by comprehending it is just look up the definition of that, and we don't have to argue with it. And I tell you everything that I learned from it. So we're going to go with the first tab. Look, I'm not even playing. Every single book that I own, not just hard copies, okay? I have a Kindle. Anybody that has a Kindle, this thing cost me $300. My wife bought it for me, I believe, for my birthday or Christmas. I can't remember. And I have highlights in there. So if you have a Kindle, you know exactly what a Kindle is. I have a lot of books on this too. So I go over not just hard copies, but Kindles. And I tell you why. I don't have $1 million to go spend a whole bunch of money on books. I do have a lot of books in my library in my house, but I also have a lot of books right here in this Kindle. So I do my due diligence. And I'm telling you, this is why what have I learned from reading this book series on my YouTube channel is such a hit. I know it's not a hit to the where I got monetized. A lot of people, like I said, before I even started this book and do these tabs, a lot of people are doing this for monetization. And I know that because they talk about it. They told me personally in DMs and stuff like that, hey, how do you monetize? As a matter of fact, they bring up the conversation of, hey, did you monetize your stuff? Nah. When I started my website 5 years ago, rebirthoftheword.com, I didn't want any monetization from that. I wanted to share what I've read and stuff like that. And then I started learning later on that a lot of people don't like to click on links because that's how people get, hacked and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, man, dang, you don't have a virus protector on your computer. And you don't understand how to, keep that from happening. So I realized that, hey, maybe I need to start sharing stuff on visual aid. And I'll tell you right now, I'm in the process of learning sign language. And the reason why is because I want to go over each and every book, teaching people using sign language. This is a lot of people that don't care. See, when you care about sharing knowledge, you're going to do everything you can to do it. This is a progression of steps in my growth on how to do things. So I'm actually learning sign language right now on how to present my information. And if anybody out there that can help me with the shortcut of helping somebody, hey, look, can we take your YouTube channel and can we use it as a guide for sign language? Please do it. I want you to. Anything that you can take from what I've learned and use it to the benefit of the people out there that want actual knowledge, use it. Because there's a lot of people out there who are doing it for fame, money, and whatever it is out there. I don't care about none of that. That's why everything that I've done, everything that I put my time, money, and sources into comes from me personally. Yes, I've had some people ask me where they can donate to it, and I'll call their bluff. Anytime somebody asks me that, guess what? I'm posting my Cash App, I'm posting my PayPal, and I'm posting all that on the online because people are challenging and saying, "Hey, man, we want to support you. How can we support you? I want to send you $2." Well, hey, here's my Cash App, and guess what? Sometimes they'll send it, sometimes they don't. And time is money, and all this other stuff. But we're gonna go to the first tab right here. We're gonna use his book, Zecharia Sitchin, The Cosmic Code. So this is what's interesting to me. The first tab says, OG, according to the Bible, was a big and stout man. His iron bedstead is 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide, equivalent to over 13 feet and 6 feet, respectively. This giant size, the Bible hints, was due to his being a descendant of the Raphaim, a giant-like race of demigods who had once dwelt in the land. Now, this is interesting to me because I've talked about this in the past already. Goliath was considered 9 cubits in the span, right? What did it say exactly here? His bed was 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Okay, now when you read the King James Version, it definitely says 9 cubits in the span, right? But when you read the Greek Septuagint, or at least the version that I have, it says 4 cubits in the span. It doesn't say, or 6 cubits in the span. I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly. 6 cubits in the span. So that's shorter than what the King James Version says. So you can go from 6 cubits of the span to 9 cubits of the span. So now I want to know right here, because Zecharia Sitchin definitely puts it in quotation marks on page 12 of this book. His iron bedside is 9 cubits in the span. So show me where you got that information from. Because I can tell you right now, if you're using 9 cubits of the span, could it possibly be 6 cubits in the span? That's the question that I have. And I can tell you that right now, Zecharia Sitchin had the opportunity to have a discussion with Dr. Michael S. Heiser before he passed away and before all this stuff went down, to actually, give the sources where Zecharia Sitchin got this information from. And I can tell you right now, he didn't take that upon himself to do that. And it's a shame. So we're going to go to page 15. It says, as at Stonehenge and other megalithic sites, so too regarding the Golan site, the enigma of who built them is only intensified by establishing their age and determining that an advanced knowledge of astronomy underlay their orientations, unless they were indeed the divine beings themselves. Who was there capable of their feat? Circa 3000 BC in the case of the Golan site. Now look, let me tell you something. If you read Ptolemy's book, Almagest, which I'll be doing in the future, they've been recording what's been happening in the sky for thousands and thousands of years before the Sumerians. Point in case, Göbekli Tepe, okay, Naphtha in Africa. Hold on, let me name another spot just to throw out 3 strikes out there, right? Enki and Adam's calendar, that's in South Africa. We know for a fact that people have been looking at the sky and have been sitting up here translating how the sky and the constellations have been working for their benefit of the humankind. This is nothing. The Sumerians ain't the first people. The Babylonians aren't the first people. The Chaldeans. Matter of fact, the Chaldeans are actually known as the first astronomers. So I don't even have to argue that. Okay, we Göbekli Tepe right there by itself, since everybody wants to talk about Göbekli Tepe, goes further back than Sumerians. So the Sumerians ain't where we get the information from. It's just one of the places we get the information from, but people want you to believe that. And I know I share that that's what it is, because that's what modern academia says, but I also think outside the box, and I give you more information besides that. The next one, in 3000 BC, there was a Western Asia, only one civilization high enough, sophisticated enough, and with extraordinary astronomical knowledge, capable of planning, orienting astronomically, and carrying out the major structures here. Consider the Sumerian civilization. Come on, brother. You see, this is the type of stuff that I tell you that Zecharia Sitchin lies about. Okay, because Gobekli Tepe, bro, Naphtha player. Come on, Adam's calendar and Enki's calendar, man. You literally said the Sumerians are these are the people that set this stuff thousands of years ago, but we don't forgot about everybody that came before that. Literally, everybody that became before that. What you should have said, Zecharia Sitchin, is that the Sumerian civilization compiled information from different cultures and civilizations from around the world and annotated in their cuneiform tablets. That's what he should have said. But because he didn't, he got this information wrong. And he's sharing incorrect information. The next tab, and this one's my favorite. On Jacob's journey from the south of Canaan to distant Haran, the Bible reports only one episode, though a very significant one. It was the nighttime vision by Jacob as he came upon a certain place of a stairway to heaven on which angels of the Lord were ascending and descending. This is where they're talking about Jacob's ladder. Now, hold up. Let me shut this down right here. Let me shut this down, this screen share right here, because I want to show y'all something. And this is why I say knowledge is power, and I definitely have it. And a lot of people don't understand it. Now, in this book, he said visions, right? Listen, let me say this again. Let me say this very clearly to you guys again. Let me close this part out because I don't know why this is up. Bada boom, bada boom. Hold up, close. Oh, I can't close that. I gotta continue with Google. All right, forget it. All right, so it says, on Jacob's journey from the south of the distant to Haran, the Bible reports one episode, though a very significant one. It was the nighttime. So Jacob was at night. Okay, it was at nighttime. What do we do at night? We sleep. Just remember that we sleep at night. But listen, nighttime vision by Jacob. Now, look, this is the etymology. This is a website that I have the book version in my Amazon card. I haven't bought it yet. I want to buy it, but I want to wait. It's a couple of $100s, and I'm going to wait for it to drop at least. But right now, I'm able to get online and use the online version. Vision. It says that which is seen, specifically something seen in the imagination or in the supernatural. Okay, so when people talk about the Ezekiel wheel or Jacob's ladder and all this stuff, specifically something seen in the imagination or in the supernatural. Okay, so this means that one or two things. This man was either sleeping, this man was either in some altered type state, or he was meditating, or anything in between those, right? So when you talk about these visions, he said, let's continue. It was the nighttime vision by Jacob as he came upon a certain place of a stairway to heaven, which the angels of the Lord were ascending and descending. Awakened, Jacob realized that he had come upon a place of the Elohim and a gateway to the heaven. Come on, man. That means when you woke up, you was just basically dreaming about something about heaven and the gods, because guess what? Elohim means gods, or it could mean one God, multiple gods, or one God. And it literally says that he was sleeping. So this is not something he's seen with his two eyes. Okay, nothing that he's seen with his two eyes. He was sleeping or meditating or in a trance or altered state, astral projection, whatever you want to call it. He was in an altered mind state where he wasn't wide awake, and he's seen these things, these gods. And this is the argument that he says that these gods coming from a planet Nibiru. So you telling me when we go to sleep, we go to planet Nibiru, we have the capabilities and opportunities and abilities to go to planet Nibiru? Come on, is that what you telling me from your knowledge, Zecharia Sitchin? I don't know. Can't ask him because he's no longer here to say that. But let me put it like this to you. It literally says vision in 1300. It says that which is seen, specifically something seen in the imagination or in the supernatural. And why did I pick the etymology? Because it's the origins of the words and what they meant at that time frame. Okay, when people hear visions of today, they're like, oh, vision this. Think about it. Vision this. How do you vision something? You envision it in your head, not using your two eyes. This is the type of stuff that I try to share with people to understand that you have to research what you're reading. Sometimes you just can't read a page and a paragraph and be like, oh yeah, I understand this. No, if that's what you do, you're not understanding what is actually being out there. All right. The next thing I tabbed up is actually from Genesis 17:20, and it says, as for Ishmael, indeed I have heard him, by this do I bless him. I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. Of him 12 chieftains will be born. His shall be a great nation. Now that number 12 right there is where Zecharia Sitchin will sit here and say that the Anunnaki were 12 gods. That's not how it always was. And because I don't actually go back and read everything and do, I don't go back and I should, but I'm not. I don't go back and try to pre-plan what I'm talking about. This is what I'm doing is basically trying to refresh my memory. So I have the New Jerusalem Bible right here. Okay. I have it right here. So if I was to pick this book up and read Genesis 17:20, would I read the same exact thing? Well, let's see. Let's just tap into that theory and see what it say 17:20. Let's go to 17:20. Hold up. It's 15, 16. 17:20. Let's see this next page. Okay, it says, "For Ishmael, too, I grant you your request. I here bless him and will make him fruitful and exceeding numerous. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I shall make him into a great nation. But my covenant I shall maintain with Isaac, with whom Sarah will bear you at this time." So let's see. Does it say the same thing? As for Ishmael, indeed, I have heard him. By this I do bless him. I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. Of him 12 chieftains. So chieftains and princes. Okay. Now, what's so funny about the word princes? Well, guess what? The Anunnaki / the Anunnaki, or whatever you want to call them, it doesn't mean those who came from heaven to earth. Guess what it means? Princely offspring. Now, just think about that for a second. Princely offspring. That's literally what it means. Anunnaki means princely offspring. A lot of people follow the idea. Zecharia Sitchin says those who came from heaven to earth. And in matter of fact, he has 3 different versions or 4 different versions of what he believes the word Anunnaki means. And I will be going over that in the future because guess what? I'll be doing the 7th book tomorrow of his, and then I'll be doing the Anunnaki Chronicles probably sometime next week. And this is the versions of the books of unpublished versions of his works after he passed away. His niece published them. But we're going to keep it going, okay? The next tab. The answers require the crossing of a threshold to a realization that underlying the seemingly astrological significance of dividing the heavens into 12 parts is a highly sophisticated astronomy, and in fact so advanced that man by himself could not have possessed it when this division of the celestial circle began. Now, that I'm going to tell you, that is BS, and that's so wrong to the point where the Sumerians themselves only knew of 5 planets. They only knew of 5 planets, which you can see or 5 celestial objects outside of Earth's atmosphere. And that's what you can see with the naked eye. Yeah, they didn't know 12 planets. And when he talks about 12 and he brings up cylinder seal VA243, guess what? Cylinder seal VA243 is not Sumerian. That's Akkadian. Okay. It's not Sumerian at all. It's Akkadian. Yes, it has Sumerian writing systems in it and the writing style and stuff like that. But guess what? It's not Sumerian. It's Akkadian. And I've already talked about this in the past, so I don't even have to harp on that. The next tab is basically reading the whole thing, but reading the whole chapter. But basically what it comes down to is this is what he says: those who from heaven to earth came, and they coming from another planet with a vast orbital period of a longevity in which 1 year encompassed 3,600 earthlings, had no difficulty discerning precision and devising the 12 planet zodiac. Now, when we get the zodiac signs mostly from, is from not from the Sumerians. We get them mostly from China. And if you look at the actual time frame of that, you would definitely agree with me on that. Here's the next tab. The answer, we believe, lies in another major problem that the Anunnaki faced once they changed their mission from a one-time mineral extracting expedition to a long settlement with almost 1,000 of them involved. From their viewpoint, they had come from a planet with a normal orbit to one that grazily runs around the sun, orbiting the sun 3,600 times in one Nibiru year, one orbital period. So basically, when I talk about when he says that planet Nibiru orbits the sun every 3,600 years, this is where he talks about it some at too also. But there's no cuneiform tablet that says that. There's no information that says that. There's nothing in the cuneiform or in the Sumerian or Akkadian that talks about that. Now, if you want to talk about Nibiru being a planet, some people will consider Jupiter, and that's when you go into the Babylonian myths about the Enuma Elish, and I'll get into that later on because I actually have a book about the Enuma Elish by itself. Matter of fact, if you go to my website, rebirthoftheword.com, puzzle pieces are Is it? No, it's actually under its own tab. The Enuma Elish is actually in this writing system, from what I found, available to everybody that can read online. It's on my website, so you can read exactly what it says. As a matter of fact, the last tablet 7, is where you would get the mention of it. But I will get into that in the future. This is where Zecharia Sitchin has the pantheon of the Anuna slash the Anunnaki. So let me close this out real quick, because we're done with that part, with the vision part. I wanted to make sure people understand, when it comes to vision, we know that vision isn't necessarily, seeing with two eyes, is meditative state. So let me see. So this is where he gives, okay, yeah, you can see it a little bit right here. So this is where he gives a little pantheon of the Anuna, and he says Anu slash An is on the top, of course. And then he gives, the pantheon of the 12. Now, let me tell you something. Like I said, the Sumerians didn't have 12 just one important gods. There were gods from everywhere. Sometimes it was 8, sometimes it was 7, sometimes it was just 4. It just depended on the time frame and the actual cuneiform tablets of that time frame that said what they said. Like I said before in the past, when I did his other books, which you can find on my YouTube channel, just because they were in Mesopotamia doesn't mean that everybody in Mesopotamia believed in the same thing. And I give you a perfect example of that. You can't get 2 Christians right now today into the same room and believe the same exact stuff. You just can't. You can't get two people who have the same faith and to believe the same thing, unless they're married, of course. And even then, if you question them, that definitely change their ideas. So we're gonna go to the next tab. Deified in Mesopotamia, Ra Marduk returned to Egypt to reassert his supremacy there as the great god of the new civilization. The time was 3100 BC. Now, if you heard me say before, 3100 BC is what he considers the beginning of the Sumerian or the Egyptian civilization. Excuse me for a second. I just had to clear my throat. So, like I was saying, he says that the Egyptian civilization started around 3100 BC and that the Sumerian civilization started around 3200 BC. How did you come up with precise dates like that? Why are you saying that the Sumerian, and this is with a lot of people, even academia, they'll say that the Sumerian civilization is the first civilization because of their writing system, and it started around 3200 BC because of their pictographic script. Dr. Nili Samet from Bar Ilan University taught me that when I took a class from her about that. And I can tell you right now, personally, the hieroglyphs were way before the Sumerian pictographic script. We know that, and nobody has to even argue that. You can look at the pottery and depictions and all this other stuff. It literally came way before that. So the argument with that right there is so false. But he sits there and says the time was 3100 BC, and this is why he says what he says. He's creating a narrative to saying that the Sumerians are the first people. He's not saying that the Egyptians are the first people, because that would go against his narrative, right? That's why he says 3100 BC. How did you come up with that date? What cuneiform, papyrus, or any depiction on this planet that says 3100 BC and 3200 BC? You know how they came up with these dates? They picked things up when they were doing some archaeological digs, and they dated it using radiocarbon data and all this other stuff. And they came up with the dates. And anybody that knows anything about radiocarbon data and stuff like that, it's a give or take. So it could be 3100 BC or it could be 3800 BC. It's just which one you want to pick to create your narrative. And he definitely created his own narrative with his ideas. That's why a lot of people believe what he says. And that's why people like Billy Carson is making, such a big movement, because people want to believe what Zecharia Sitchin said, but they don't want to challenge him. And that's crazy to me. There's another tab. Would we have shown up on our planet anyway through evolution alone? Probably, for that is how the Anunnaki from the same seed of life had evolved on Nibiru, but far ahead of us. But on Earth, we came about through genetic engineering. When Enki and Ninmah jumped the gun on evolution and made Adam the first. Test tube baby. And he put test tube baby in quotations. Let me tell you something. There was so many different human species out there, from the Neanderthals, the Homo erectus, the Denisovans, and all this stuff. And, if let me put it like this: anybody that has a dog knows that dogs were they're not created in no high class scientific facility. They just make these dogs breed over and over and over again until they get the genetics right, until the genetics are completely good. So that means you have to have a perfect specimen of one dog breed, you have to have a perfect specimen of another dog breed, and you breed those dogs naturally, and they create another breed. And then it just keeps going and going and going and going on like that. The same thing with human species. Just think about a group of humans. Let's say, let's just say the Homo erectus said, "Hey, I fell in love with a Denisovan, and we had a baby together, and that was a perfect specimen. And then that individual found love with something else, and that became a perfect specimen, and then so on and so forth. But what is perfect specimen? Even today, in this time frame, we still die of all kinds of diseases, cancer. Some people who aren't born with two lungs, some people are born with one, some people are missing organs, and man, there's so much different things. So but the point is that Zecharia Sitchin, when he does get right, is that the Anuna / the Anunnaki, when you read the cuneiform tablets, when you go to the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature, and you go to these different, respected websites, academia even, the Anuna / Anunnaki are responsible for creating humans. Now, on my last episode before this one, I actually showed you how to look up on the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature on how to find some of this information. And I came across some of this information on my last episode. What he did was basically create a narrative, because when you go to the electronic text corpus of Sumerian literature itself, or if you read the book, which I've had the luxury and I have the book, The Ancient Literature of Sumer, you will read it and you would actually read that, yes, the Anunnaki are responsible for creating humans, but they didn't use no test tube. So I don't know why he put that in quotations, but that's where people get the misconception of the idea of Zecharia Sitchin was on to something. No, he wasn't on to something. He just created a narrative and he fooled a lot of people. He made you guys believe in stuff that wasn't in there. You don't have to create a narrative. Just read the text for yourself. There's a reason why he didn't put a lot of sources of where he got this information from. If you're putting something in quotations, why are you not telling us where you got it from? And I understand that a lot of people don't do that. I don't always do that also. But if you ask me, I'm going to show you. Challenging me is like the worst thing that you can do, because I'm definitely going to go to my library, pick up a book, and I'm going to go through all these tabs that I have in these books. And I'm definitely going to sit here and say, bro, you wrong. And this is what it says, and this is why it says it. And I'm not trying to say that you're wrong or right because of this, that, and third. I'm telling you that you're wrong because you're creating a narrative that you want people to believe. But if you want to be ignorant, follow those people and get it. That's fine with me. I'm just bringing the facts to the table. The intact Marduk swept by, made an orbital round, and returned to the site of the battle. This time, he himself struck Tiamat with far-reaching consequences. One half of her he smashed into pieces to become the great band, the Astral Belt. Now, that's actually a lot of people believe that, not just Zecharia Sitchin. They believe that the Astral Belt was created because some kind of cataclysm event between two, either a planet or a moon or some sort, something was orbiting and they crashed into each other. I don't know how accurate that is. I'm not going to sit here and argue that, but I can tell you, when you read the Enuma Elish, that's where he got the idea from, and he thinks that he's able to present it into a way that he's creating a new narrative. Read the Enuma Elish for yourself, the complete version. Go to sacred-text.com by yourself if you want to, and you will see for yourself that this is, just what Zecharia Sitchin is presenting on himself, because he feels like that he thinks he's right about certain things. And he might be right about certain things, but he's also wrong about a lot of other stuff. So we just going to keep going. Let's go to the next tab. Let's see. The cosmic. Okay, so this is basically the Sumerians consider the abode called Kot Center by most scholars of Enlil as the navel of the earth, the place from which other key locations were inquisitant, the epicenter of concentric divinely ordained sites. Best known for its later Akkadian Semitic name Nippur. Its Sumerian name was Nibiru Kai, the place of the crossing. Now let's look this up. And you know what? I'm not even going to look that up because I'm just going to tell you. So he is right, like I said, about Nibiru, and I've talked about this, that Nibiru and Nippur are one and the same. Nippur is actually a Mesopotamian city, which is also known as Nibiru. Okay, it's a Mesopotamian city. It's also known as Nibru, Nibru, in which he does say here, Nibru.kai. He says the place of the crossing. So that's actually true. It's a crossing. What kind of crossing? Nobody really knows, but he says it's the crossing from heaven to earth. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you look up Nibiru, and Nippur, you will see and it's a reconstruction of a building, or what would be a building or a house that sits on top of a hill. Okay. And then everybody below that was where the regular people live. So the kings, the queens, and everybody, the gods, or what you would like to call them, lived on top of the hill. This is no different, which I've said plenty of times about Mount Olympus with the Greeks and stuff like that. And when it comes to angels, angels are just considered messengers. I can't stand it when people say these angels came from a heaven outside of Earth's atmosphere. Well, guess what? That would make them extraterrestrial, right? Because anything outside of Earth's atmosphere is extraterrestrial. But these angels, when you look at the Strong Concordance, they were nothing but messengers. And guess what? A demon could be considered an angel. Matter of fact, they were angels in the beginning because they were messengers. Okay, demons were people and individuals, or whatever you want to call them, that gave information from the past to the people, or gave information from people, from their kings, queens, or whoever, to the people below. We're gonna go to the next tablet. For unexplained reasons, Marduk was tested for his magical powers. Show us the gathered. And Inaki said, how you can command to destroy as well as to command. And then he gives, I want to say a quotation from somewhere, but he doesn't give you where he actually got this information from. So he says, he spoke and the constellations vanished. He spoke again and the images were restored. When the gods, his elders, saw the power of his utterance, they rejoiced, they proclaimed Marduk is supreme. Now, when you read the Enuma Elish, basically it says that the Marduk, and me and Lil Vivas is actually just talking about this. Ra and Marduk are considered the same. That's what Zecharia Sitchin says in his books, but it's just not him saying it. There's different academic people that will say this because of their relationship. But Marduk was basically the individual who became all the gods at once. So think of Anu being in charge. Marduk eventually took over that. It was no longer Anu. And then some people will say Enlil was the primary god before or after Anu, and then Marduk took over Enlil's position. But the point is that, like I said, some of the stuff he said was right, and some of the other stuff said he was wrong. But I'm going to tell you right now, this right here wasn't. I just want to know where he got this information from, because he put these little quotations in there, and he, does here. I'll show you right here. Hold on, let me show you. You see that right there? Hold up. Let me see. Can you see that? Let it clear up for a second. There you go. See, he spoke and the constellations vanished. That's what he said. But where did he get that from? What is the cuneiform tablet identifier where he said that from? What book did he get that from? What text did he get that from? Was it the Assyrians? Was it the Babylonians? Was it the Chaldeans? Was it, the Sumerians? Who was it? Was it the Ubadians? We don't know, right? All right, next tab is, let's see. Hold on. Oh, dang. All right, there we go. It says, to appreciate Thoth's ability to achieve all that, let us recall that we have identified this son of Ta as Ningazida, son of Enki and Sumerian lore, whose Sumerian name meant Lord of the Tree, Artifact of Life. All right, that the part where he says Lord of the Tree and Artifact of Life, I don't know where he got that from. I can't find that anywhere. But we do know for the fact that from my research, Ningazida and Thoth is one and the same. Ningazida, Kokokan, Quetzalcoatl, Hermes, they're all one and the same. And that's what people say because of their similarities. I don't know how actual facts that is, but that's what individuals do say. So I can't take that away from him, which is very interesting because if Thoth is Ningazita, you know, what else similarities can we find from that individual? So let me go to the next tab. Let's see. Let's see. This seemed to make no sense even. Okay, so here we go. Here we believe is the key to the puzzle of the succession rules and the emphasis of on the mother. It is through her that an extra qualifying dose was given to the hero or the heir, be it not Anunnaki or patriarchal. This seemed to make no sense even after the discovery in 1953 of the double helix structure DNA and the understanding how the two strands unwind and separate so that one strand from the female egg and one strand from the male sperm recombine, making the offspring a 50-50 image of his parents. Indeed, the understanding, while explaining the demigod's claims, deify the inexplicable claim of Gilgamesh to be 2/3 divine. Now, this is what's interesting to me. Gilgamesh was a tyrant. Okay, first of all, I talked about this in the past. Anytime somebody had got married in those time frames under Gilgamesh rule, before the male could have a relationship with his wife after being married, uh, he had to have relationship, and people were upset. Men were upset about that, and you know, they basically found Enkidu to go that was in the woods to help, you know, get rid of Gilgamesh. Now, we don't know too much about Enkidu until we find out that Gilgamesh was a tyrant. So my question is what did people know about Enkidu prior to that? And we don't really get any information about that, but we do know, or I can say at least I know, that Enkidu was an individual that was supposed to fight Gilgamesh, and eventually, after the fight, they became friends. Now, what did Gilgamesh change his ways after that? Who really knows? There's different versions of it. His name is not always Gilgamesh; it's Bilgamesh with a B and stuff like that. So it's just different, you know, linguistically. The name changes, and the you know the letters of the name changes. Here's another one. He never gives an actual tablet cuneiform identifier for this, but he does says, how good or bad is man's body? As my heart prompts me, I can make its fate good or bad. And this is where he goes into say, let's see, let me see. We too have now reached the stage where we can insert or replace a certain gene whose role we have uncovered and try to prevent or cure a specific disease or shortcoming. That's not necessarily true. We do have abilities to see if somebody has i.e. autism or some kind of disability in the body, but to change it and get rid of it, we're not at that point yet. And if we were, there wouldn't be so many people with so many different ailments today, right? But we are getting to that. And I've said this so many times, science catches up with what our theories and what we want to accomplish in the future. What I mean by that is look at vehicles today. We can drive a car using gasoline today, but back in the day, guess what? We were walking. Then we decided to use some type of animal like horses and lions. Yes, in Africa, there are individual tribes, even to this day, who ride lions and use lions as transportation, and donkeys, camels, and so on and so forth. Then those individuals decided to say, okay, you know what? How can we do this in a technological way where we're not using an animal, but we can use some kind of outside element? Cars. Well, then that's when Henry Ford came about, right? And did what he did. And then now we're at the point where cars are driving by themselves. You don't even have to really have a human in there. They have, you know, taxis like that to this day. Let's go to the next tab. The Sumerian texts inform us, first of all, that the seed of life, the genetic alphabet, was imparted to Earth by Nibiru during the celestial battle some 4 billion years ago. There is no Sumerian text that says that. None, zero, zelts, nothing at all. The Enuma Elish says that something happened outside of Earth's atmosphere, which is Babylonian, by the way, not Sumerian. The Enuma Elish is Babylonian, not Sumerian. Talks about how there was a fight between, Tiamat and Marduk and these planets and so on and so basically these gods that's in human form, our form, they were known as planets. This is no different than the Greeks were Mars, Jupiter, and so on and so forth. But there's no Sumerian text that says that. And I wish he would actually give the. I actually heard Billy Carson say that so many times. What cuneiform tablet from the Sumerian says that? I challenge anybody that follows those people to ask him what cuneiform tablet says that. Just ask him. Just say, yo, just show me the tablet. I don't even have to learn how to read it. Just show me the tablet. You know what I'm saying? But they won't because there's no Sumerian tablet. The Enuma Elish is the closest thing that we get to what we understand that of something outside of Earth's atmosphere. Now, there's plenty of documentation, peer-reviewed articles, and so on and so forth that some type of meteorite or some kind of rock from outside of Earth's atmosphere landed on here on Earth, and it carried some type of DNA or some type of building block for humans, right? Bacteria and so on and so forth. That's not, we don't have to argue that. But they also say, scientifically peer-reviewed articles in academia, that us humans, and even the chair, the computer, the cell phone, and all this has some kind of atom that makes it. Atoms makes us. That's what Adam, ADAM, humanity, man, the man himself, the name. You know what I'm saying? This is known, and and they believe. I'm not gonna say we believe. I should say we as a community, I guess, is that that we're not originally from here, right? This planet is about what, 4-something billion years old. The universe is what, 14 billion years old, give or take, and so on and so forth. There had to have been enough ingredients from different places to make what is going on now. I've heard people say, is there life outside of Earth's atmosphere? Yeah, we know that there's life outside of Earth's atmosphere, bacteria and all kinds of stuff, right? What is life? I mean, when you consider what is life, what are you talking about life? Something that thinks like us or does what else we do? We don't only species that do what we do here on this planet. I don't see dogs running around making computers. I don't see penguins out here, making ice cream. I damn sure don't see no camels out there driving no cars, right? So what is life? What is the criteria that is needed to be considered life, right? What is the criteria that is needed to be considered a civilization? What is the criteria that is needed to be considered a human? I don't know, because everything that I've read, everybody has their own ideas and theories. So we're going to go to the next tab. This clash between fate and destiny takes us to the moment when Homo sapiens sapiens appeared. Adapa, to be the son of God, of a god, asked for immortality. That is, we know from the Epic of Gilgamesh, could be obtained by ascending heavenward to the abode of the Anunnaki, and that was what Ea Enki told Adapa. Now, this is where I'm going to hit Zecharia Sitchin, Billy Carson, and everybody in their gut. Listen to what I just said. It says this clash between fate and destiny takes us to the moment when Homo sapiens sapiens appeared. Adapa, to being the son of God, asked for immortality. That, as we know from the Epic of Gilgamesh, could be obtained by ascending heavenward to the abode of the Anunnaki. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've always said it, the Anunnaki didn't come from no planet Nibiru outside of Earth's atmosphere. Okay, the Anunnaki came from the depths of the sea, oceans, water of some sort. This is where the UFOs and UAPs and all these individuals are like, where are these things coming from? They're coming from the depths of the sea. Let me make my point right here. Zecharia Sitchin uses the word Adapa. Adapa is also an atom, also mankind, humankind, and so on and so forth. Now, let me tell you what he also says. That, as we know from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Guess where Gilgamesh went to go get the damn immortality thing from? Some people have different ideas of what that thing is, but guess where he got that immortality from? He put 2 cinder blocks on his legs, jumped in the water, and he sunk to the bottom of the water to get some kind of thing, plant or whatever the case may be, because it was a way for immortality. And guess what? when he went to go take a bath in a lake or a pond or something like that, some snake came around, took it, and left, and he was sad. He didn't go to heaven to go, he didn't go nowhere outside of Earth's atmosphere to get that. He went to the depths of the sea. Okay, when I tell you that you guys are certain people are following Zecharia Sitchin, they're not reading and researching the information. I have the book from Andrew George, which I will go over in the future. Literally is the different in George Smith, both of them actually, but George Smith more importantly, they have the texts that talk about this. Okay, this is not me saying anything that is not written where Zecharia Sitchin could have got this information. If Zecharia Sitchin followed George Smith in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a new translation or the translations before that, because a new translation is basically an updated version of what he said before. Gilgamesh didn't go to heaven to go get no dang on immortality. He didn't go outside of Earth's atmosphere to get immortality, heavenward or anything. So when you say heavenward, was he talking about the depths of the sea, or was he just confused on what he was talking about? And I'm telling you, he was confused, because when you look and read the book for yourself and you go do your research, go ask ChatGPT and all that other stuff, since some people are lazy, ask them, where did Gilgamesh go get the immortality product or item? Let's just say item that he needed for immortality. He got it from water. He literally tied some heavy cinder blocks or type of bricks or whatever the case on his legs to help him sink to the bottom of the, some people say ocean or waters. Some people say water, some people say ocean. And he found this. So this is what I'm saying, is that when you do your due diligence, when you go back and read people's stuff, they don't make sense. They contradict themselves more than they're sharing stuff. And that's why I said this whole podcasting thing is saturated with people that just want to hear themselves talk. They don't do their due diligence. They don't go reading stuff, and they don't go out there and actually say, hey, yo, this doesn't make sense. They just go with the flow. And that's why there's a lot of people that are ignorant today, because a lot of people don't want to go find this information. But we're going to go to the next one. And it's no fault on some of the people, because a lot of people don't have time for it. But if you're going to tell me that I'm wrong about something, or I need to do more research in something, you at least got to read what I've read, because I probably already read yours times 4 already. But we're going to keep it moving. Sumerians spoke of another pre-diluvial chosen one who was initiated to divine secrets by taking or being taken up to the celestial abode of the Anunnaki. He came from Sippar, bird city, where Utu or Shamash was in charge, and was probably an offspring. Listen, probably an offspring of his demigod known in the text Enmi-Dorana, as well as Enmi-Doranki. First of all, stop saying the word probably. If you don't know for a fact, don't say it at all. Okay. Before you even say anything, back it up with something. So that right there, when I read probably, I was just like, okay, yeah, all right. I'm going to believe what you say because you said probably. All right, whatever. According to the book of Enoch, all that vast knowledge, secrets of the angels and God, was written down in 360 sacred books, which Enoch took back with him to earth. Summoning his sons, he showed them the books and explained their contents to them. Now that's actually in the book of Enoch, but let me make sure I make something very clear. There are 3 different versions of the book of Enoch, and I will be going over to them in the future. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the first one is the only accurate one. The second and third one are more narrative based type stuff based off of other stuff. When he says 360 sacred books, what do you consider a book, first of all? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to understand. And where is this information actually at? Where's the actual writing of where are these books that you are talking about? And which book of Enoch did you use for your narrative? That's what I'm trying to understand. But because he's not here, we can't ask him. But because Billy Carson is alive and he likes to follow Zecharia Sitchin, I challenge all you guys to ask Billy Carson where's that. He just like what I'm doing right now, reading what I've learned from reading this book, he can do the same thing and say, hey, look, in this book, this is what it says. I'm going to show you where the actual texts are. The actual texts are. So you can see that this book and this person that wrote this book was accurate in what they say. But he won't do it because guess what? Once he starts telling the truth about stuff, ain't nobody going to like what he says because it ain't going to go with his narrative anymore. What were these divine books? That's the next tab. That's my question right there. So what we gonna see is Zecharia Sitchin answers it. What were these divine books and what kind of writing wisdom? All right, Master of Divine Tablets concerning heaven draws attention to the term me, M-E, in his name, translated here as divine tablets. In truth, no one can be sure what me's were. So you asked a question that nobody can be sure about. So why bring it up? Now everything after that is a narrative that you're trying to create and you're trying to convince people. But we're going to keep going because I don't want to just stop right there. You got to come with context, right? They were objects small enough to be held in one hand. Remember when I was saying that some of these cuneiform tablets were smaller than this? They were smaller than these. I mean, literally, than these AirPods that I have. Literally smaller. I've seen cuneiform tablets close face to face. I've seen actual cuneiform tablets. They're small. They're really small to the point where you would think that this Kindle, the size of a tablet, would be what a cuneiform tablet is. Now, yes, they do have some decent sized tablets, but for the most part, they're not that big. Come on, people. But we're gonna keep it going because I don't want to take away from what he's saying. They were, we won't continue. They were a small object, small enough to be held in one hand. For it was told that Inanna Ishtar, seeking to elevate her city, York, to capital status, connivingly obtained from Enki scores of the Medes that were encoded with the secrets of the supreme lordship. But basically what he's just saying, nobody can tell you exactly what these Medes were. So these tablets were basically the tablets of destinies. That's what he's going to get into. And these tablets were supposed to be the foundation of, if anybody had them, they would understand the secrets of the universe, basically, right? But tablets could have just been, a recording of these constellations, right? When the plant seeds for agricultural needs. Here's another one, chapter 8. It says, hidden codes, mystic numbers. It was probably inevitable that with the advent of the modern computer age, some masters of the craft would turn their capabilities to a novel and new goal to search for a secret code in the Bible. So basically what he says in this chapter right here is basically he tries to use the Bible as a way of saying that what the Anunnaki or Anuna and their gods were actual facts. Now, I'm not going to sit here and take away from that. If you read the Bible, Shinar, Shinar, is just another version of saying Sumer, Sumer. And we get Sumer from the Sumerians, okay? But guess what? The Sumerians aren't the first people who inhabited that land. Guess who inhabited that land before that? The Ubadians inhabited that land. And that's where you get the reptilians from. A lot of people don't like David Icke because he talks a lot about reptilians and stuff like that. But I can tell you right now from personal experience, when you read about the Ubadians and you look at their depictions and their artifacts and stuff like that, you're reptilian artifacts, or what some people would consider reptilians. Let's see the next tab. The passage deals with Masonic expectations, the downfall of evil and its aftermath, a second coming, the return of the kingdom of heaven to earth. So this is what he's talking about. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, so this is where he gets this is where he talks about 666. And let's see. Hold on, I gotta move that. There we go. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, there we go. 666 right there. Okay. Now I have the ancient Hebrew translations from an individual named Robert Alter, ROBERT that I bought, and it's the translations of the Hebrew. And I can tell you, reading that books, or the 5 books of Moses, I should say. Oh man, look at that light got bright because I'm shining bright like it's I'm just shining bright. You know what I'm saying? You can't stop this hustle right here. But the Robert Alter says that 666 is first mentioned when it's in reference to gold, literally gold. 666 has nothing to do with the devil. It has nothing to do with Lucifer or evil or anything with that. It has something to do with gold. And of course, like I said, because I'm always adding stuff to my what I've learned from reading this book, I would definitely be going over those in the future. So just be on the lookout. The next tab, what emerges from the Mesopotamian tablet regarding the secret numbers of the gods may well have been the key to solving the mystery of 666 by looking at it as Sumerian base. So 600 equals the Anunnaki, those who from heaven came to earth came. 60, Anu, their supreme leader, and 6, Adad, one of the gods who teaches, initiates. Look up the time frame of Adad, AD, and then get back to watching this video if you're watching this in pre-recording. If you're watching this now, then I tell you what, go research it and get back at to me and see the time frame of AD, and then go back to when I was listening, when I told you guys to listen to where people like to create their own narratives. Boy, y'all be so surprised. And I'm not even going to harp on that because this is definitely going to be covered when I go over Robert Alter's book. But I can tell you, he liked to create narratives for his own stuff. God was the ultimate prophet and the source of all prophecy. The biblical view found expression even where the text seems just to report events. The punishment imposed on Adam and Eve after they eaten the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden foresaw the future ways of human beings. Now, I'm going to be going over the Garden of Eden. I talked about what's his name? What's his name? Eden. Jesus, I just had his name. Jesus, he'll come back to me in a little bit. But I'll be going over a book where he gives an actual how can I say, the cuneiform tablets in relation to the Bible of what the Garden of Eden and what Enki brought. If you go to my X profile right now and you type in metallurgy on my X profile Twitter page, you will see that metallurgy was what the forbidden fruit was that was given to Eve from Enki. It was metallurgy, basically learning how to agriculture and stuff like that. I'll go in there in the future about that. But Zecharia Sitchin doesn't talk about that. He goes in there, and I'll give you a great example. In that same paragraph, he says he promised that there would never again be a deluge in a covenant with Abraham. We still have floods today. We don't have worldwide floods, but we definitely still have floods today. Let's keep it going. And I'm almost done. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I got a little bit more tabs, but we're almost done. So it says, the next tab says, but as fate would have it, the nuclear cloud of death carried by prevailing Mediterranean winds drifted eastward toward Mesopotamia. In its path, all that was alive, people, animals, plants, died in a horrible death. As the deathly cloud near Sumer, the Anunnaki gods began to abandon their cities. Now, and I've watched plenty of videos of Zecharia Sitchin, and he actually says that the Anunnaki, and I believe in one of his books, I can't remember which one it is exactly, but he talks about the Anunnaki and Nunas actually knowing that this was going to happen beforehand. So waiting until it hit a certain place and starting to come to Mesopotamia, he's basically saying that they were blindsided eventually because the Mediterranean winds, where there were supposedly Anunnaki gods in the Mediterranean area. But, let's see. Okay, yeah, here we go. But as fate would have it, winds as they reached Mesopotamia changed course to the southeast. And while Sumer and his great olden cities lay prostrate and desolate, the city of Babylon to the north was completely spared. Okay. I guess, right? I'm not going to argue with that. But here we go. We're going to go to the next tab. This is the War of the Kings took place by our calculations, and he says our calculations. So who is our? Who is these individuals that gave you these calculations? But he doesn't tell us. He says, by our calculations in 2041 BC, the year that the princes of the south captured Memphis in Egypt and dethroned Abram's ally, declaring allegiance to Amon-Ra, the hidden or unseen Ra Marduk, who was still in exile. So Ra and Marduk was supposedly in exile. After Marduk's rise to supremacy, the new rulers of Egypt began building in Karnak, a suburb of the capital of Thebes, Egypt's greatest temple in honor of Amun Ra. Uh, there's some exaggeration to that and accuracy to that, but that's also based on what people got from the pyramid text and the coffin text. And I wish he would have actually said where he got it from, the coffin text or the pyramid text, because he doesn't quote exactly what these things says. He reads it and then he says this is what it says or what it means. And I can tell you that's not how you should do things. You should tell somebody, hey, look, this is what I've read from this book. I'm not sure exactly what is the accuracy behind it, but if you want verification, clarification for yourself, go to this book and read this book for yourself. The temple was divided into 3 parts, entered through a large gateway flanked by 2 specifically designed pillars, figures 76. So what is he talking about? He is talking about, why did I hit this up? Let's see. What temple is he talking about? Because I marked it. Now I got to go find out what. Okay, so it's called Devir, DVIR, literally the speaker for it held the Ark of the Covenant. So which exactly temple is he talking about? Because I don't see. Okay, it took 7 years to complete the building of the temple and to equip it with the rituals. Then on the next new year, in the 7th month celebration, the king and the priests and all the people witnessed the transfer of the Ark of the Covenant to its permanent place in the temple's Holy of Holies. There was nothing in the Ark except the 2 stone tablets that Moses had placed therein at Mount Sinai. So which temple is he actually talking about? Let me see. I guess I'm going to have to go. Oh, okay. I see. It's this one right here. This is what he's talking about. Right here. This is what he's talking about. Mount Moriah. Whatever. So that's what he's talking about. All right, the next tab. And just to finish that off, nobody knows where the Ark of the Covenant really is. So keep that where it's at. He could return to Egypt from the Sinai wilderness only after the death of Thutmose the third and 14. Okay, so I got to go back. Hold on. Okay, this is about forcing Moses to flee after he stood up for his people. He could return to Egypt. Okay, so yeah, so this part right here is basically him talking about the Egyptians and Moses and his people, the Hebrews and all these other individuals that were slaves at that time, leaving the area. There's no argument in there. The reason why I tabbed that up is because he talks about Yahweh, and he says that 2 incidents mentioned in the Bible and a major change in Egypt indicate theologically repercussions among other peoples as a result of the miracles, wonders attributed to Yahweh in support of his chosen people. So he's basically, Yahweh had a chosen people. And if you know anything about Yahweh, he was the guy that was in charge of, he was the god of war, basically. So that's pretty interesting. Lil Vibe says, yep, Manly P. Hall also says in Secret Teachings of All Ages that both numbers of beast 666 and number of saved chosen 144,000 add up to base digit of 9. And in parentheses, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, equals 1 plus 8 equals 9. 1 plus 4 equals 9, which is a number of completion, is the number of man in both his beastly and regenerative state. I can't remember if I read that or not, but I do know a lot about Manly P. Hall. So I do know a little bit about 9. The number 9 is the hermit and tarot who holds a staff with a golden star in traditional imagery. So that's actually goes back to what Robert Alter's says in his Hebrew translations and understanding of 666 has been having to do with gold rather than, evil, I guess you could say. But we can also say gold is also evil because a lot of people died to find gold. The next tab, let's see, got 3 more tabs and we almost done. And then, like I said, I'm also going to be doing His next book tomorrow, I'm going to go live tomorrow about the same time. I'm not sure if it's going to be 10 or 11, but I'm going to be going over his book, the seventh book tomorrow. And then I'm going to finish out the other two of his books next week. And then we're going to go back to our regular programming of nothing with Zecharia Sitchin, basically. All right. So the next tab is Isaiah 2, 2 through 3. And it's just basically the end of days. This chapter is called A Time of Prophecy, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, it's the time of prophecy. I just want to see what page this chapter starts on. Let's see. Okay, the time of prophecy chapter starts on page 232 is chapter 11. And I marked Isaiah 2:2-3, and I'll read it out. It says, this is what he says in his book. It says, and it shall come to pass at the end of days, the mount of the temple of Yahweh shall be established ahead of all the mountains and shall be exalted above all hills, and all the nations shall throng unto it. And many people shall come and say, come ye, let us go up to mountain of Yahweh, to the temple of the God of Jacob, and that he may teach us of his ways, and that we may follow in his path. For out of Zion shall come instruction in the word of God from Jerusalem. So, I mean, not for nothing, I don't have to be a prophet to know that sometime in the near future, this planet's going to end. I don't have to be a prophet to that. Nothing lasts forever. Everything comes to an end eventually. So having prophecies and stuff like that on anything, that's just normal human thinking. Next tab. Nowadays, Haran still stands where it did in the time of Abraham and his family. Outside the city's crumbling walls from Islamic conquest times, the well where Jacob met Rebekah still flows with water, and in the surrounding plains, sheep still graze as they did for millennia ago. That's true. I don't have to argue about that. But just depending on what you consider a well, some people will argue that. The next tab, such a manner of communication directed from a deity to a human was far from being unusual. Indeed, it was the one mostly employed. Throughout the ancient world, kings and priests, patriarchs, and prophets received the divine word through the medium of dreams. Now, you remember when I was talking about visions and all that other stuff earlier? Zecharia Sitchin was right. I'm not going to argue with that because it was a dream-like altered type of state, meditative state. He literally telling people, his arguments are saying that these extraterrestrials that these people see in the Bible through their visions were, dang, that light is bright. I don't know why it keeps doing it. And I guess you can say a narrative that he wanted to create using information based off of, saying that, hey, these people seen things outside of their body, basically. And that's when I was talking about astral projection. So in reality, when people talk about visions, it was in a dreamlike state. And I didn't just get this from Zecharia Sitchin. I told you, I looked up what visions was in the etymology, and it tells you something in an imaginary. So the last tab right here. Hold up. Here we go. Oh, it's just reaffirming that. Okay, so it's just saying that Bel and Marduk was the same. So Bel and Marduk were one and the same. So you got Bel, Bel, Ra, and Marduk are one and the same. This all comes from, reading his book. Like I said, that's the end of it. Everything I share comes from these tabs. Every time I read a book, whether it's on my YouTube channel or my Kindle, or a book that I've read from hard copy to my Kindle, I have highlights, notes, and all kinds of stuff in it. So I'm not sitting up here sharing anything that goes against what anybody says. Those tabs is what I basically research. So I really appreciate everybody coming in and listening. I'm going to continue this. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to do his other book, his last book, the 7th book. And then next week, probably starting Monday or Tuesday, I'll finish out the rest of his books. the two books that I got to finish out is the Genesis. I just had the hiccups. The Genesis Revisited, and then uh, the Anunnaki Chronicles. So we'll be going over that. I appreciate everybody for listening. If you enjoy what I said, please share it and let me know what you think. And I'm always going to continue to do this. I'm going to focus a lot more on just presenting information because I have a lot of books. And if you don't see me promoting certain people, there's a reason why for it. It's not because I have anything against them. It's just that I wasted a lot of time supporting people that I shouldn't have. And I'm not going to be in this echo chamber like they are, where they just want to hear somebody talk and make a big name for self, because I'm definitely telling you that's what a lot of people are doing. But until next time, you know what I'm saying? I always say this, you know,